Good morning. I'm Reverend Paula Skiles from Unity Church of San Marcos, welcoming you to our first video podcast for YouTube and our service message today. And we want to thank you for tuning in. I wanted to start this morning by sharing a thought with you. There was this plane traveling from one coast to the other. And midway through the flight, the captain came over the speaker and announced that there was a serious problem with one of the engines. And so about 20 minutes later, he came back on the line and announced that there was problems happening with the second engine. And he said to the people, he says, I really think that we have such a problem that I don't know what else to do, but I think we need to pray. And the flight attendant was passing one of the passengers at that moment, and he stopped her and said, look, I just cannot pray. I'm an atheist. But he wanted to be of service, so he says, what can I do? And the flight attendant, not really knowing exactly what to do, was frustrated and just said, well, I don't know, but do something religious. So he took up a collection. So this morning, we are entering into a way of experiencing, for the first time in our church, service online. Now, that in itself is a little different for all of us. But I would offer that this is another way of just perhaps sequestering ourselves rather than having to be forced and thinking of it as being forced into staying at home. So I'm just thinking, as part of what Lent is about, is for our spiritual good, letting go of something we're deeply connected to that really doesn't serve us in our spiritual life. And so I'm reminded that at this time in our lives, we have the, say as a metaphor, the story I just told, we have the plane, our country, that is going on a path, it's traveling, and one of our engines, the engine of health, has started to show some major problems. And not only that, but a second engine, the engine of our economics, is also starting to suffer and show that it's having problems as well, right? Okay. Well, I'm not suggesting we take up an offering. However, there are some things we can do. And one of them is to recognize in Lent that it's about letting go. And I have listened to a few of us that are part of our church and some that are just people at large. And I'm hearing a collection of thoughts. And those collection of thoughts have everything to do with anything from feeling like this is a conspiracy to tank our economic stability, to this is overblown, and it's also ideas of we're doing this too soon, to we haven't done enough, to all kinds of things. And so I get the sense that many people are experiencing some fear, some anxiety, a lot of worry and tension, and maybe even a few of us are panicking over what's happening with the next few weeks even. And so I have a thought about my message today. My message is titled Doubling Down on Love. And I'd like to share that thought with you this morning, because I believe we can be part of a solution. We can be part of a solution in letting that kind of thinking go for a period of time. And when we double down on love, when we focus on something so different from our fear, focus on something completely contrasting to anxiety and worry, then we can change or shift not only our own personal energies, but we put out energies into the world that help the world. And they're also contagious. Think about it. Love, kindness, compassion, they're contagious too. Think about it. When somebody smiles at you, don't you want to smile back usually? absolutely. So I was thinking that offering a message today about what love consists of and how we can do that when we're sitting at home. Because most of us are sitting at home. And there is that aspect of what we're doing. There is being separate from and not trying to connect and not trying to reach out physically to people as we're used to. But we also have the capacity that we're going through this specific time with technologies that is so different than any other era before us. People are able to connect through Zoom or through the internet and YouTube as we are connecting with you this morning. And there are many things that we can be grateful for, and gratitude is a part of how we express love within our own being. And so I would share with you this idea that not putting our families at risk, but there are things that you and I can do right here, right now. And one of them is the expression of prayer and meditation. Now, I'm very clear that not everybody knows how to meditate or even what meditation is. But a real simple thought is prayer is when you and I talk to God, and meditation is when you and I listen to God. And that's kind of a real simplified version of what prayer and meditation are about. And meditation offers us so many different things. Many of us today, as a result of the last few years, have kind of come to a place of emptiness, exhaustion, spiritually and physically, with all of the mass shootings in the churches and in the schools, with our current crises of health challenges for many people. And a pandemic is not something not to be afraid of. We need to have a healthy fear. But there is, I fear, or I sense, a fear that is beyond a healthy fear, that is consuming so many of us. And I would like to address how prayer and meditation can shift that energy of fear into one of calm and peace and rest. And that it would be the question in my mind is, we're sitting here, we've got lots of times on our hands that we normally don't have. Many of us have filled in that sense of emptiness by taking and going to work and the daily grind, right? And now we don't even have that to distract us, right? So I'm looking at there is so much of an opportunity now for you and I and all of our friends and family to do something at home that's so simple in its meditation. So some of us who've been feeling a little ornery with all of our sequestering and getting maybe testy with some of our loved ones who are in the same house with us. We're fortunate enough to have somebody in our home with us and not having to be alone in this time. Sometimes we're not always the easiest to get along with, are we, when we're feeling that panic and fear. But the reality is that emptiness that's been kind of going on for us, it's filled with love when you express it, when you give it. I know that many people have talked about, I can't stand to let my family out of my sight, and yet I don't have anything to give them when they're there. And so this process of choosing to recognize that now is the time in which our faith has prepared us. Now is the time for you and I to take all we believe and put it to work. All right? This is what it's about, is taking those years that we have been practicing prayer and meditation and letting them work for us now. Taking that inner resources that we have built, that sense of peace and calm and faith and love that we have built up over the years, and putting that into effect in our lives. There's this wonderful simple poem from Philip Booth I want to share with you this morning about teaching his daughter to float in the ocean. And I'm going to share this poem with you at the moment. Lie back, daughter. Let your head be tipped back in the cup of my hand. Gently, and I will hold you. Spread your arms wide. Lie out on the stream and look high at the gulls. A dead man floats face down. You will dive and swim soon enough where this tide water ebbs to the sea. Daughter, believe me when you tire on the long thrash to your island. Lie up and survive as you float now where I held you and let go. Remember when fear cramps your heart, what I told you. Lie gently and wide to the light year stars. Lie back and the sea will hold you. I kind of feel that that's kind of what I'm calling us to do, is to let go of our fear of this crisis and recognize that we have been made ready for it. There is within us all we need to draw from in order to go through this with a sense of peace and courage and confidence. And people in this world are needing that right now. I mean, they are seriously needing us, you and I, who are willing to do that, take that step to show and express courage. Meditation is a form of showing that courage. Being confident, praying is a form of showing that confidence. And it comes through in the level of all that we have in this world. It comes through and overrides fear every time. Michael Gerson, who was a columnist, shared this thought regarding the pandemic that we are experiencing. And he said, "The most enterprising among us interrupt our anxiety with telework when our jobs allow, with long, socially distanced walks and Zoom chats among friends and relatives. But this still leaves time on our hands. And can the silence bring some contentment, serenity, and peace?" And he says, "I can only speak from experience and respond with a hearty, maybe, occasionally, partially." So I would share with you some of the techniques of prayer, is that you and I can pray just wholeheartedly, and we can pray affirmatively. We can eat well. We can take care of our loved ones by trying to be calmer in this situation. There are so many of us that have these questions that are just running through our mind like a hamster wheel, just turning and turning and turning. And this is a time in which we can understand that meditation not only calms the mind and brings us into peace, but it will take that level of fear and frustration and it will change it completely, removing it from our system. Because what meditation does is it changes our immune system, making us more immune to dis-ease. And it also offers us an opportunity to experience more compassion. And it elevates our sense of well-being. And not just sense of peace, but our sense of well-being and health. Because it quite literally does a shift within our body where our immune system is strengthened. And so I would encourage everyone to say, "I don't have the time," because we have plenty right now. Because what's happened is we have set up this me versus everyone else mindset with all this fear. And I would encourage us to see what we can do to look beyond. Can you see beyond scarcity? See beyond disease? Can you see beyond to what is possible in this world? And miracles can happen. They really can. There's a wonderful Bible verse from Jeremiah 32:27 that says, "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me?" And I think that we take comfort from the Bible and the words of the Bible, rather than being afraid of them. I think that they have so many constant ideas that come forth because they faced pandemics, they faced famines, they faced all kinds of things, and everything in the Bible speaks to what you and I can do with our faith. And one of the things I would like to share with you this morning is that while we're focusing on finding out how many people are dying and all this other stuff from the pandemic, why don't we also look at some of the good news that is also happening around the pandemic? And so let me share just a few. So, now many of us don't drink. Some of us do. But the distilleries in the U.S. are making their own hand sanitizers and giving it away free. Some good news.
That is good.
Numerous businesses have stepped up to solve the crisis. There are people in the sports world raising money for stadium employees. There are professional soccer players entertaining viewers with a FIFA tournament. You have Uber Eats divvying out free deliveries to help independent restaurants. And you have Bill Gates funneling millions of dollars to speed up the development of a vaccine and a treatment for people. These are just few of dozens. I went to a website, seattlepi.com, and they had 23 of these things listed, and I'll share a couple of more. The scientists in Israel have noted the potential to announce development of a coronavirus vaccine within weeks. We're talking weeks right now. And they are nearing that wonderful possibility of announcing that. And if they have that, do you know it could be ready within 90 days? So within 3 months, there could be a vaccine, and this would all be shifted, everything that's going on. And so there are places we can turn our mind to, away from the fearful aspects, from worry. So one more verse from the Bible I'd like to share. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Isaiah 26:3. Now, I'm telling you, that's meditation. That is what that is all about. So just a quick reminder, meditation reduces stress and anxiety. It strengthens your immune function, builds compassion, and it levels up our consciousness. And when we think about that poem I shared from Philip Booth about being held in the sea, I think about when you and I are praying, we're being held in that sea of love. And when we're doubling down on it, when our strength, when our personal strength, if we just feel like we just can't go on or we don't have anything left to give and there's that emptiness that we're feeling, it's filled. It's as if Spirit is holding us during those times that we feel like we could be drowning. So now's the time. We are being called to live what we believe. And that's what this is happening for, is, in my mind, is a way for you and I to experience that when people need hope, when they need confidence and courage, all the years that you and I have been learning how to pray, learning how to meditate, now's the time we get to step up and we get to live what we believe. Because who we are and what we are matter. It matters. And it doesn't matter if you're at home alone or if you have all your family hanging out with you. Find some time to let this be not a sense of fear and being forced to stay away from everybody, but a sense of choosing to seclude yourself and to sequester and step aside from the busyness of everyday cares and allowing yourself that, recognizing when there is something important and needing to be addressed, that you have within you the ability and the knowledge and the faith and the love to do so. And that's doubling down on love. God bless you.